Hello, I'm Dr. Larry Kuhn. Thanks for connecting. The purpose of this presentation is to introduce an inexpensive and powerful way to assess and track workplace well-being and well-doing. Everybody's familiar with the term well-being, but we've enhanced the term a bit to include well-doing in that consideration as an important aspect that often gets overlooked in the discussion. Both sides, well-being and well-doing, are inextricably linked together. When you think about it, you can't sustainably have one without the other. You can get the results, the well-doing, even if it's gained via reluctant compliance, but not for very long if you don't have well-being. Well-being and well-doing both converge where we are, in what we do, and how we do it, within the roles that we play, whether as an employee or a supervisor or a colleague, or even a partner, a father, a mother, a son, or a daughter. Here's a framework to consider. To really understand well-being, we recognize there is a spectrum along which people in relationships and workplaces fall when describing their functioning and their flourishing. Reflecting on their current state, on your current state, are we producing results and realizing growth? That means that we notice our own as well as another's satisfaction, sense of purpose, and experienced feelings. Individuals at the low end of well-doing and well-being might often describe themselves as being in crisis, struggling, and just surviving. We maybe said that ourselves. They often have fixed mindsets, expect little to change, and are often operating from a place of scarcity, not abundance. When you are there, the idea of growth feels very distant and almost impossible. At the higher end of well-doing, well-being, that spectrum, we see people who are growing, thriving, and flourishing. These folks most likely have growth mindsets, and they are moving toward their purpose with high levels of productivity, operating from a place of abundance and what seems infinite possibility. Sometimes for them, it's hard to relate to people who are at the low end. That's not where they spend most of their time. Looking at this spectrum, reflect well and consider, where are you? Where's your team? Where's your organization right now in terms of well-being and well-doing? What's kind of interesting, whether we are in a dark place or at the top end, in the moment, it can feel very real, and it's often difficult to see our way clear to move forward, or even to understand where we were when we were at the other end of the spectrum. As you look at these categories, consider your objective well-being. Not just about performance, one can also explore functioning in terms of our standard of living, like our educational attainment, our sense of safety, our income, our life expectancy. You see, functioning may even be the absence of dysfunction, or what we would call symptoms. Physically, that's often measurable in terms of our biological health, like sugar, cholesterol, digestion, regularity, activity, or BMI. In the workplace, our functioning can be measured in terms of performance. In a relationship, it can be measured in terms of the frequency of escalations or lack thereof, or how well basically we play or work together to impact our world, our community, our friends, our families. Next, as you look at these categories, also consider your subjective well-being. It's increasingly more important to understand this within the workplace. This is not just about performance outcomes. That's where exploring within, between, and around as a framework can be helpful in our approach. Looking within, exploring our thoughts and beliefs, what goes on inside of us, we can assess life satisfaction, happiness, met or unmet needs, our sense of purpose, congruence, growth, and especially our emotional states and moods. Emotions, interestingly, often serve like a barometer about our current internal world in relationship with the external world. Looking and shifting to look between, we can consider social support within the relationships, even at the team level. Do we have people on whom we can depend to help, appreciate, or encourage us? Are we in a pro-social community? What does that mean? Are we pitching in to help others when they need something done? Think about it in our neighborhood. Do we invite neighbors into our home and look for ways to help them when they're in need? Do they invite us? That's pro-social. That's well-doing. Can we trust people? Do we believe that most people are honest? If we're cynical, we don't. Is there mutual respect, where people respect me, are polite, and we treat one another with the same amount of respect? Do we feel lonely, or are there others around whom we feel close to? Do we feel left out, or do we feel like we have a sense of belonging? You see, and this is the finding from the 1938 longitudinal study on well-being, strong relationships, not physical diet and exercise, most accurately predict people's happiness throughout their lives. The biggest challenge faced when you look at what is going on between people both in and out of the workplace today is that sense of isolation and loneliness and disconnection. It's not that accomplishments aren't important and satisfying, but social fitness, not physical fitness, relates to the quality of our relationships. And that's the key to well-being. You see, relationships won't sufficiently keep us happy every day, but they are certainly essential to build a safety net of well-being. I said I like to ask questions. Here's one that I often use as a clinical psychologist. Can you remember a time in your life when you were hurting, really needed someone, and there was a primary caregiver available? Could have been mom or dad. They were available and responsive to you. I'll say that question again. Can you remember a time in your life when you were really hurting and you really needed somebody, and there was a primary caregiver that was available and responsive to meet that need? Only about 50 to 60% of the population can say yes to that. The others don't really have that to draw on in their experience. As you consider your own subjective well-being, you can shift your curiosity perspective to look around. Within the organization or your team, are we wishing to promote well-being within our team? If we are, we have to ask ourselves, how can we create communities of connection that are characterized by trust, availability, and responsiveness? This is particularly true for people working in human resources, because human needs matter. We'll return to this in a bit as a tangible takeaway, but this means in the organization, let's pay attention to subjective well-being and development, not just results and functioning well. Now the fun part. If you haven't already done so, download the AspireVue app, log in, and navigate to the Development Journeys tab. Find the Well-Being area, and under Self-Reflection, we've created 3 different snapshots for you to explore: your personal well-being, your relational well-being, and your workplace well-being. We've designed this so that you not only take the survey, view the results and the e-learning microcourses here, but if you've signed up for the Affordable Journeys subscription, you can access the Goal Achievement tab. Prioritize and publish your goals to your current goals. Then you can use the Daily Q tool to bring those goals top of mind with consistency over 30 days to really target your objectives, create some actionable wins, and experience momentum. Imagine as a supervisor, having the tool to help facilitate and evaluate performance and growth within those one-on-one conversations with your direct reports, focusing on things that matter to you, the employee, and to the organization. Imagine as an employee, being able to target some specific objectives, getting the support that you need, and periodically revisiting the app to take another sounding of your well-being right there through the Self-Reflect tab. What would it feel like to actually see and experience tangible progress? In the next microcourse session, we'll explore what companies and teams can do to promote well-being in their workplace and teams. Thanks for connecting.